A court CCTV on February 13, 2023, captured a video of a group of prisoners in white and orange-striped prison uniforms sitting on the front row in court while the court sitting progressed. However, as the court was going on with its business, one of them walked uneasily around, showing that something was up. The prisoner stood up and hastily walked directly to the window. He jumped out of the window and fell straight to the floor, taking to his heels thereafter. Reports are that he was later caught and taken to the hospital for treatment. He would still have to undergo his trial, of course. Two relaxed cops let an arrested guy escape their watch.
Tomou tiro na perna, no quadril e outro no peito. Foi salvo por esse tiro no peito pelo colete à prova de balas. O outro também foi alvejado na perna. Tudo isso de acordo com a polícia militar.
The policemen stationed outside the police station are charged with bringing an arrested criminal into custody. One of the police officers goes to the boot of the police van. When he opens the boot, the guy steps out. His hands are cuffed behind his back. He looks unassuming and non-threatening to the oblivious cops. The cop brings him to the door to get into the station. However, he has something shocking planned for them.
E o Lucas Castanhari dos Santos, 25 anos. Esse aí que a gente já viu nas imagens, fugindo no momento em que descia.
The cop holding the criminal lets down his guard, thinking this will be an easy job. Knowing both cops are relaxed, he dashes to the exit swiftly with the cops hot on his heels. They're too slow. This NYPD officer was on his usual routine as he patrolled the busy roads of New York City. A routine traffic stop took place as a BMW was emitting thick black smoke clouds, creating an environmental hazard for pedestrians and fellow drivers. The officer signaled for the driver to pull over for a traffic violation. Though the driver stopped, he had other plans in mind. As the officer approached the vehicle, he expected the usual exchange between cops and drivers. What followed, however, was far from expected. The driver, seemingly unperturbed by the infringement, decided to take matters into his own hands. Instead of cooperating, he abruptly shifted gears and accelerated, catching the cop completely off guard. The officer was hit by the fleeing vehicle. As the car drove off, the police stood up and attempted to give the car a chase, along with other NYPD officers present at the scene.
Yo, y'all just saw that live, son! Y'all just saw that live!
The perpetrator's car, however, weaved through traffic at an elusive speed. The cops gave up on the chase eventually and gathered to discuss what just happened. The police leave a dangerous criminal unchecked in a courtroom to escape.
The escape is on. Gerald Hyde II somehow gets away from the guards and runs out of the empty courtroom. Before he leaves, he takes off his shirt to cover the handcuffs still on his wrist.
The guy exits from a door to an empty courtroom. Presumably, his case is about to be tried in court. He needs to escape before that. Seeing no one in the room, he runs to the double doors that serve as an exit. At the door, he takes off his black shirt. He wants to disguise himself to fool the guards outside.
Hyde then runs through the hallways of the Justice Center, leaving his orange jail-issued shoes behind. He then runs outside through the front doors barefoot.
He walks out unassailed, not recognized by anyone. He shows cunning, knowing it won't be long before the cops know he has escaped. He runs to the exit towards his freedom. At the Oklahoma County Courthouse in Oklahoma City, a 30-year-old man known as David Knight was to appear at the courthouse for a hearing. Slipping out of the courtroom, his exit was perfectly timed as he got to the elevator, just as the doors were opening. On the ground floor, Knight quickly assessed the situation and decided to make a break for it, attempting to evade capture.
Seen here in the brown jacket about to enter the courtroom is David Knight. The 30-year-old's in court today for a hearing regarding drug possession charges.
But he still had to pass through one last officer who was ready for him and took off after him.
On the ground floor, Knight steps out of the elevator, gets his bearings, then
with the officer chasing hotly after him, Knight burst through the exit and out onto the street. It's a flat-out foot race for freedom.
It looks like he might slip out under the radar. But now comes the toughest part, getting past the last security checkpoint and this deputy.
However, the deputy, in a swift and dramatic moment, brought Knight down with a tackle on the street, surrounded by curious onlookers.
The deputy, who, just out of the camera's view, catches Knight and brings him down with a tackle in front of some curious bystanders.
Smart criminal gang shakes off police shake with an epic street race.
Verdadeiro espalha-rodas. O motoqueiro dá o pinote. Essa outra moto também tenta se evadir para fugir da abordagem.
The policeman arrives at a crime scene. He sees the criminal in his red and black striped hoodie. The guy immediately rides off on his bike. He is determined to escape and does. The police, frustrated at losing him, see his accomplice. A man and woman on a similar bike are about to collide with his bike.
A perseguição se concentra no casal. O motoqueiro entra numa viela.
The previous guy abandoned his bike on the road as an obstacle to slow down the cop to let his accomplice escape. Bonnie and Clyde lead the policeman on a merry-go-round chase through several streets.
O sem noção continua acelerando.
The guy drops off the lady and rides off, leaving the cop with no choice but to chase him. Without her, the guy rides off unimpeded and eventually shakes off the cop. In this video, captured on a highway, a man frantically ran across the road, almost disregarding the vehicles. It was clear that he was fleeing from something. Several police officers were seen standing by the road with some German Shepherd dogs. Some were busy and others were on guard. One of the cops went to the back of a vehicle, and in it was an empty seat. The prisoner they were escorting had bolted. It turned out that the man from earlier was a prisoner who had escaped. Sloppy cops can't capture a criminal after being boxed in by 3 cars. The police successfully block the criminal's path in his car after a brutal chase. A policeman comes out to arrest him. Although boxed in, the criminal will not leave his car. The policeman struggles to drag him out with no success. The criminal tries to escape again, seeing the cop's sloppy performance. A third cop car arrives blocking his path. One of the cars circles around to block his rear exit. 2 cops are now trying to get him out. This doesn't stop him. He presses hard on his accelerator till his tires smoke and breaks out of the police siege. He escapes. During a routine traffic stop, a police officer gestured for the driver to turn off his car engine. However, the driver declined to follow their instructions. To the officer's surprise, the driver swiftly drove away, catching all the cops off guard as they reached for the car door and held it for a second. The officers were initially at ease due to the presence of surrounding police cars, but they suddenly found themselves in a complex situation. The driver, determined to evade the police, continued his rounds, leaving a trail of damaged car parts, including a battered hood. He couldn't care less about the growing damage to his car as he persisted until he found an exit route. With a sudden burst of speed, he executed a calculated escape, weaving through other vehicles and disappearing from the officer's sight. Cop allows an offending driver to escape a routine traffic stop. A traffic officer on a routine stop uses his body to block the way of the car. He slaps the trunk of the car, urging and threatening the owner to stop and get out. The car and its owner do not budge. The cop leaves to get reinforcement. When he returns, he stands on the side of the car. He unwittingly gave the driver a golden opportunity to escape. He takes it, swerving away from the cars in his path. He speeds away, leaving the cop eating his dust. A police officer pulled over a driver during a routine traffic stop. But this driver wasn't the obedient kind, as instead of cooperating, the driver surprised everyone by making a run for it around the car. He tried to dodge the officer at every turn, weaving through like a slippery fish, causing the officer a big headache. As the officer closed in, the unexpected happened. Realizing he was trapped, the driver decided to face off with the officer. They threw punches, turning the area into an arena. Amidst the chaos, another driver tried to intervene, attempting to break up the fight. Seizing the opportunity, the perpetrator managed to slip away. Rushing back to his car in a daring move, he sped off, narrowly avoiding the police officer who had bravely tried to stop him. Cop lets the Mercedes car owner that hit him escape, chasing on foot. The Mercedes owner is driving with exhaust pipe smoke polluting the air and blinding drivers. Justifiably, the cop stops the car, ordering the owner to step out. Probably laughing at the cop, the driver tries driving off. The cop jumps on the hood of the car to stop the driver. The car shakes him off the hood and speeds off.
Yo!
The cops give chase on foot through a crowded New York road. The cops tire quickly, and it's clear they can't catch the driver. He outsmarted them. This man, Tarek Arnold, with his hands cuffed behind him, made a daring escape from NYPD officers in Harlem. The dramatic scene unfolds as surveillance cameras capture Arnold, bound in handcuffs, running down West 135th Street with two detectives in pursuit.
As he bolted down West 135th Street, his hands bound in handcuffs as he ran. Two detectives behind him trying to catch up. This afternoon,
Despite the attempted manhunt, Arnold managed to evade the police, creating a tense situation for onlookers and law enforcement alike.
suspect still managing to evade police.
It's like nerve-wracking because you don't know what he may do. They're just praying and hoping.
Police say they were taking him to a waiting vehicle when Arnold made his move, running west on West 135th Street toward Frederick Douglass Boulevard.
Nothing else won't happen.
An overnight manhunt and searches so far today yielding no signs of the 23-year-old. The escaped prisoner on the run since around 7:30.
Despite the efforts to locate him, Arnold, charged with attempted murder, remains at large, presenting a potential threat given his prior arrests and history of violent felonies.
Tuesday night, when investigators say he shoved one of the two officers escorting him out of the 32nd Precinct Station House in Harlem. Police say they were taking him to a waiting vehicle when Arnold made his move, running west on West 135th Street toward Frederick Douglass Boulevard.
Smart criminal evades arrest and cruise around the neighborhood. The criminal drives around on his bike as if cruising and unafraid of the cops giving chase. Unsurprisingly, the police car pulls up on him, blocking his path. A cop jumps out to grab the criminal from his bike. The criminal evades and rides off the road to escape the cops. The criminal successfully escapes and continues to cruise around the neighborhood. The cops don't stand a chance when it comes to escaping in the neighborhood. Cops were waiting for this motorcyclist, who skillfully maneuvered through various routes, accelerating at top speed to evade law enforcement. The scene unfolded as a high-stakes chase, with the agile rider deftly navigating the surroundings to avoid capture. Despite the efforts of law enforcement, the motorcycle sped away, leaving the pursuing officers behind in the pursuit of a swift and elusive escape. A reckless driver disappears under the watchful eyes of the cops under an overpass.
Because they were in that tracking mode. Again, that's when law enforcement decides to pull off because it's just too dangerous. So now we are transitioning over, let's see what happens here, University Park.
The driver drives recklessly on the road, crossing and blocking other drivers, paying no heed to the traffic or speed limit. The police chase him with a helicopter, tracking his movements. There are no police cars giving chase.
To go into tracking mode. And so now it's come back eastbound on the 10. Now we're going northbound on Adams. We're coming up to Washington, very busy area. We're kind of headed up to the Crypto Arena.
The driver knows he is being followed and has plans to shake off the cops from the trail. How he goes about it is straight out of an action movie. The car reaches an overpass and drives underneath it. The car doesn't drive out seconds later. The car seems to have disappeared, or the driver changed cars. These officers messed with the wrong criminal. During the pursuit, the suspect pulled off a bold move, skillfully eluding police custody. The suspect seemed too experienced as he deftly maneuvered through the building. The chase intensified as the suspect demonstrated an intricate knowledge of the surroundings, slipping away from the grasp of the pursuing officers and flying down the stairs. In In a rather daring attempt to capture the slippery suspect, a police officer jumped over the railings, landing painfully on his back during their chase on a staircase. The impact left the officer injured, and he was momentarily unable to move. Another officer had to come to his aid as he was grappling to regain control, while the suspect exploited every opportunity to continue the escape. Car-hiding criminal breaks out of a police siege unscathed. A white car is targeted by a cop. The cop points a gun at the car, chasing it into a blockade. The driver must be shocked by this, but will not go down easily. Several other cops form a ring around the car. They kick, scream, and point guns at the car. The car reverses and collides with a police car behind it. It seems escape will be impossible. The driver shoots forward to push apart the two cars blocking its path. The attempt is unsuccessful. A cop takes the chance to try and break the car's window. Undeterred, the car reverses and gathers momentum to ram apart the cars in front of it. The car and its occupant escape. A brutal video from the Arizona Department of Corrections prison is being shown. This incident happened at 9:55 in the morning on November 3, 2020. An officer was checking the cell, and two convicts walked up to him.
It's November 3rd, 2020, and you're looking at a pod inside the Tucson prison at 9:55 in the morning. A lone officer checking a cell.
One held the guard from behind as the other rained on him with his fist. Another prisoner was seen just walking away as if nothing was going on. Some seconds later, the officer was able to free himself, reached out for his pepper spray, and began shooting. The criminals scattered to the first floor as they watched the officer walk away from above.
After spraying the inmates, the officer, still alone, and inmates begin to attack him again. Punches, kicks, stomps.
After a few minutes of spraying, the inmates attacked the guard again, more furious this time as they threw more fists and kicks at the warden. When the officer managed to free himself and go for an escape, the prisoners caught on to him and slammed him on the floor. One prisoner seemed to even hurt his foot while kicking the guard.
He's at that point, he's just at their mercy.
The inmates get tired and actually take a short break as the officer gets to the stairs. There, the inmate...
After a short while, the convict decided to stop for a bit and free the officer. As he managed to reach the stairs, they went after him again, kicking very aggressively. One prisoner was even spraying him with the pepper spray he held before, and they finally set him free as he walked up the stairs.
This unit, you've got an assault going on. They're already short. 3 people show up, God bless them, but what you should have was at least 8 people running in here.
Cops embarrassingly lose a car chase to a pro-driver criminal. The cops chase a white car that drives in reverse, under extreme pressure. The cops keep driving to make the car crash into the police car behind it. As if he had eyes behind his head, the driver easily maneuvers out of the car's path. The cops' cars close around the car to trap it in. The car evades them still and escapes. The police chase after the car, but they have lost the car a few blocks earlier. They lose the chase, but they search in several streets and can't find any trace of the car. They are dealing with a pro. There are some people that cops should just not mess with to avoid humiliation, like the driver of this car pursued by police. They tried to pull him over, but the driver did not cooperate. After a moment of high-speed chase, the police car surrounded the car, leaving the driver with no escape route. Initially seemingly trapped, the driver may have had a headache trying to dodge 3 police cars. Every move by the driver was blocked by the police cars, and it seemed like there was no hope for the driver anymore. However, as seconds ticked away, the driver showed his experience as he skillfully maneuvered through the encircling police cars, creating a path of escape. It was a moment of unexpected finesse. The driver behind the wheel swiftly outwitted the officers, leaving them momentarily perplexed and probably humiliated to have lost their target despite their numbers. "18 criminals escaped from prison due to the negligence of a sleeping cop."
Dos sombras ejecutan roles, a todas luces, bien planificados. Una posiciona estructuras de fierro y la otra ata cuerdas guía a las tablas que los llevarán hasta el muro perimétrico. Su puente.
It looks like any other day, but this group of men are prepared to escape from prison. After setting stools to use as support, they get wooden planks they use as a makeshift bridge to get to the wall. The first man to go ties a rope to the pole on the wall. One by one, they make it over the bridge and get to the ground using the rope.
Y que les permitió llegar al techo del Venusterio. Pero además, en la responsabilidad administrativa, también rotaron al director del penal y al jefe de seguridad que apenas tenían 2 semanas en el cargo. Pero aquí hay algo que no encaja. Una fuga tan bien planeada y ejecutada, con tal capacidad logística, ¿se pudo desplegar en solo 13 días? ¿O se trató de una bomba que no desactivaron a tiempo? El 9 de agosto, 2 meses antes.
Their escape was possible because a prison watch guard was sleeping on duty. Had the criminals planned this, knowing the guard's sleeping routine, or was this a coincidence? CCTV cameras from different angles were focused on a black SUV that was used to transport a suspect to jail. The SUV came to a halt as the driver was paying for something. That moment turned out to be the opportunity that the suspect was looking for, as in a fluid move, he opened the car door and fled into the distance. Realizing what had happened, the driver moved the car, got out, and followed after the suspect. A man helps a suspect escape trial in a court. The man stands a few feet away from the court's door. He seems pensive, looking at the door expectantly. As if on QE, the door opens and a young man runs out with the cops chasing him. The suspicious young man follows. Whatever his plans are, they are unfolding nicely. The man runs too fast for the cops to catch him. He leaves the court's premises. To the unsuspecting cops, the other young man exits the court and runs after the man. He plans to help the criminal escape capture. There should be a getaway car nearby. Just minutes after being sentenced to 5 months in prison, a teenager made a daring escape from a courtroom. The shocking incident was caught on a surveillance camera. The gripping video footage captures the dramatic escape as one man pressed the button in a hallway of Bradford Crown Court, causing a previously locked door to swing open, granting the teenager a path out of the courthouse. The teenager ran out and into the street, causing the officers to halt their chase, as they knew there was no way of catching him. The suspect fools cops and escapes as they search an empty house. A couple of cops gather around a white door. One of them is slamming a ram against the door to get it open. It's taking too long. The suspect inside the house should be making plans to escape. The door opens and they rush in. A cop stays outside to monitor the door, yet the suspect outwits the cop. He escapes through a window on the second floor. Comically, he runs away, leaving the cops searching an empty house. CCTV captured this video in an Indian police station in 2018. It was a regular day at the office for the cops as they attended to their duties. Two individuals seized the opportune moment, swiftly evading the grasp of the law. With a burst of agility, they took off, deftly navigating their surroundings, leaving the pursuing officers momentarily baffled. Although the cops immediately took off after them, it was futile as the men escaped into the streets and vanished. A suspect escapes court after being tased and chased. A cop drags a man through the door. The man keeps resisting. As soon as he gets into the courtroom, he bursts out with surprising strength to run from the cop's hold. The other cop joins him to restrain the suspect. They are unable to bring him down even after shooting him with a taser. He bolts out of the courtroom. He runs faster and faster to the exit, to the dismay of the slow cops chasing him. Another cop tries grabbing him at the exit, but the suspect slips away to freedom. This skilled guy is rather bold, and the cops shouldn't have messed with him. When the police tried to catch up with him, he zoomed through the streets on his rollerblades, moving quickly to escape. He was like a smooth glider, and the officers couldn't keep up with him. He successfully escaped amidst the cheers of onlookers. Cops underestimate a driver on the highway, and he escapes.
On a pretty mellow week here, and look at this! Look at this! I have never seen I have never seen CHP do that.
Yeah.
This is the different vehicle, a different unit, pulling right in front of the suspect, and it makes you now really wonder if they have a clearer indication that this person is not so dangerous, if you will. I wonder what intelligence they are working with to come to these to these decisions, because this is not the most orthodox way of handling these pursuits. But I would venture to say they probably, at this point...
The cops are chasing a car on a highway. One of the cop cars blocks the way of the car, but the driver maneuvers out of the cop's way. He drives off again with several cop cars chasing him from the back. The thrilling car chase seems to have come to an end when the suspect encounters congested traffic on the road.
Englewood streets here. This is holiday light traffic on a pretty mellow week here. And look at this. Oh, look at this. I have never seen CHP do that.
Yeah.
This is the different vehicle, a different unit, pulling right in front of the suspect, and it makes you now really wonder if they have a clearer indication that this person is not so dangerous, if you will. I wonder what intelligence they are working with to come to these to these decisions, because this is not the most orthodox way of handling these pursuits. But I would venture to say they probably, at this point, maybe put the idea of a pit maneuver on hold. Look at this, another attempt to come up in front of him here and cut him off. And look at that, with other traffic in the way, now they're almost antagonizing him, and he's just not pulling over. But they are trying some really unique tactics here to try and communicate and try and block him in. We very rarely, at least here in Southern California, we very rarely see them box these vehicles in. It's something that's much more common in other jurisdictions around the country. But look at that, he's playing with a Coke bottle. It looks like an empty Coke bottle there.
One of the cop cars attempts to block the car's path again. Yet the driver slips away, using tight, open spots on the road to escape the police chase. He ditches the cops behind and drives off to enjoy his win. This court cam captured this unbelievable moment as a man took a daring leap from a balcony at the Franklin County Courthouse after a sentencing hearing. The abrupt action left everyone in the vicinity astonished. The police officers present at the scene could hardly believe their eyes. Realizing that they couldn't make the same leap, they opted for an alternative approach, choosing to pursue him through the more conventional means of the stairwells. A woman fools a cop in his car and escapes arrest.
How did she get out of those handcuffs? How did she open the door? And did the deputy sheriff who arrested her do everything?
When the cops arrested this woman, they didn't think she'd be much of a trouble. She showed them otherwise. While driving back to the station, the woman had squeezed one of her hands out of her cuffs. According to available information, she told the cop she was hot, and he turned on the AC. She complained still, and he rolled down the window. When the car stops on the road, she opens the door from the outside, gets out of the car, and begins running. This officer is occupied at the back of the vehicle. Seizing the opportunity, the girl who was handcuffed managed to escape from police custody by stealthily reaching for the door handle of the police car. With a bit of luck, she successfully opened the door without alerting the officer. Swiftly descending from the car, the girl wasted no time and sprinted away as fast as she could. Her sudden escape caught the police officer off guard, leaving her unaware of her actions until it was too late. The suspect escapes arrest on his bike while cops chase him on foot. The suspect on the bike in a blue shirt sights the cops ahead, ready to apprehend him. He turns off the road abruptly to go the other way. He miscalculates and falls. He quickly gets up on his bike. He has just seconds before he's caught.
Der certo, hoje vai dar ruim. Se tudo der certo.
The cops chase after him, but he's quick to get on his bike and ride off. To ensure the safety of civilians, the cop doesn't shoot, allowing the suspect to escape. In what looks like a normal courtroom scenario, inmates proceed to exit under the vigilant gaze of armed guards. Everything seems to be going normally until something extraordinary happens.
Normal day in court. Inmates leave the room with armed guards. According to the timestamp, less than a minute later, the escape is on.
Another inmate, Gerald Hyde, defies expectations, slipping away from the guards and executing a swift escape from the now deserted courtroom.
Gerald Hyde II somehow gets away from the guards and runs out of the empty courtroom.
Before leaving, however, through quick thinking, Hyde takes off his shirt, hiding the handcuffs still fastened around his wrists.
Before he leaves, he takes off his shirt to cover the handcuffs still on his wrists.
He navigates the hallways of the Justice Center, but reports are that despite a brief taste of freedom, Hyde's escape was short-lived as law enforcement swiftly recaptured him after a short while.
Leaving his orange jail-issued shoes behind, he then runs outside through the front doors barefoot alongside everyday people.
Murder suspect escapes courthouse from two distracted cops. Two cops usher a guy in cuffs into the police reception room. His hands are cuffed to his sides as well as his legs. One of the cops takes off the cuffs, and the guy sits. He is in a courtroom as a suspect in a murder case. The evidence must be damning because he thinks that escape is a must. He rises from his seat and looks like he wants to stretch his legs. The cops are distracted. He leaps into a run. The cops, shocked, chase him. He runs too fast, showing he knows his way around the courthouse. In this residential area, two Seattle police cars strategically cornered a fleeing suspect in a white sedan, deploying a coordinated effort to apprehend the elusive driver.
Stopping here in Nevada. Okay, across street. There you go.
Cornered, the driver could only drive in reverse, but even then he skillfully evaded both cruisers, intensifying the pursuit. The officers didn't give up. They persisted in their chase of the white vehicle, determined to bring the fleeing suspect to justice. They chased him through different neighborhoods. However, as the pursuit unfolded, the suspect managed to elude visual contact, leaving the officers momentarily without a clear line of sight, but they kept the chase on. Notwithstanding the fact that 2 police cars were after him, he successfully escaped from their grasp despite the initial maneuver.
Where'd it go? Yeah, it's gonna be westbound.
An unarmed suspect evades cops, keeping them out of his house. The guy is chased by cops in their car. He makes it to a house, presumably his house. He locks the gate, keeping the cops out. The cops get out of their car. Angrily, they kick at the gate. This doesn't faze the suspect. He feels safe here. What are the cops to do? The suspect retreats into his house, ignoring the cops. They can do nothing. They return to their car. Either they are calling for reinforcement or have given up. Still, the suspect has escaped. This suspect was being escorted to a court hearing at Fairfield Court, but he made a bold attempt to escape. As the police officer struggled to apprehend him, another officer joined the chase to capture the fleeing criminal. One of the officers seized the suspect by the other end of the chain used to tie his neck, intending to prevent his escape. Still, even with this attempt to restrain him, the suspect skillfully slipped away, evading capture. A suspect escapes arrest by a SWAT team in a bulldozer. There is a bulldozer on the lawn by the road, driving from a fleet of cop cars chasing it. Surprisingly, it's an old woman driving the bulldozer. She expertly weaves the huge car on the pedestrian walk. A SWAT team has been called to get the situation under control, but from the look of things, the old lady won't get into police custody easily. This dramatic scene unfolded in an Oregon courthouse as surveillance video captured a murder suspect, Eddie Villalobos Jr., sprinting away from officers after being unshackled in court, a mandatory procedure under state law. He was expected to attend the commencement of his trial in court, but he had other plans in mind, though he appeared calm as the police proceeded to free him from chains. However, after being unshackled, Villalobos seized the opportunity, bolting for the door and leaving everyone in a daze. People made way for him as he zoomed down the hallway, running through different corridors and finally making a swift escape through an employee-only exit. 2 suspects run amok in a temporary detention center. The cop releases 2 people from temporary detention. The cop leads the men away, as they are now free to leave. However, he was negligent. In releasing the 2 men, he had let his guard down, which created an opening for the criminals to plan their friend's escape. A guy dressed in black goes to the door the cop had opened and fiddles with the lock. Another accomplice keeps an eye out for the cops. They both search for their accomplices in the cells. At the Meigs County Courthouse in Decatur, Tennessee, a family court case turned into something else when 33-year-old Rashad Hawkins, recently sentenced to jail for failing to pay child support, decided to make a daring escape.
Taken into custody, he dips out of the second-floor courtroom.
After being sentenced, Hawkins fled the courtroom, decided to take a quicker route, hurdled himself over the second-floor balcony, and landed on an unsuspecting OK below.
Drops by the reception desk, then makes his way to the exit.
The officer who chased after him couldn't follow, and before long, other cops gathered around, stunned. For 20 days, he evaded capture as a wanted man until he was arrested 200 miles away following a trespassing complaint and scuffle with police. Woman escapes police car while cop is distracted. The cop seems to be filing a document on the trunk of his police car. The suspect, a woman, sits close to the car door with the window rolled down. Everything is aligned perfectly for her, and she takes her chance. Even with her hands cuffed, she deftly stretches one hand out to open the door. She dashes away. The lady escapes to the shock of everyone. Presumably, the cop will chase her with the car, but for now, she outwits the negligent cop. This suspect, named Lucas, was locked in the car trunk, and the moment he descended from the police vehicle, the suspect was being led by someone turning to the right, and Lucas was already looking to the left, seeing where he would escape.
Esse tiro no peito pelo colete à prova de balas. O outro também foi alvejado na perna. Tudo isso, de acordo com a polícia militar, durante uma luta corporal envolvendo esses policiais e o Lucas Castanhari dos Santos, 25 anos. Esse aí...
He fled with both hands behind him. We can see in this footage that, until that moment, he had not managed to get rid of the handcuffs. The suspect leads the cop on a wild chase into the bush. The suspect is in a white car and is being chased by a policeman on a bike. The suspect will not stop his car. He drives off madly to shake off the cop. The cop is undeterred even when they enter meandering routes. The suspect knows the streets well, but the cop is like a dog with a bone. He will not give up the chase. The suspect has driven himself into an undrivable street. He has no choice but to stop his car and run on foot. The cop stops as well, thinking he can apprehend the suspect. The suspect runs into the bush that he knows well. This video, captured by eyewitnesses, shows the epic chase of an escapee. The prisoner had escaped from prison and, still dressed in the signature orange prison uniform, he raced past several cars and shops. The people filming the chase were cheering for this prisoner, who paid them no mind and continued running to his freedom. One cop was panting heavily while chasing after the escapee. It seemed the prisoner had made up his mind to escape because he showed no sign of stopping.
He said not today. He gone, y'all.
He jumped over a low fence, and moments later, the officer got to the fence, panting. But the decisive prisoner had already escaped into oblivion. 3 suspects escaped a police chase from the business district. 3 friends, after robbing a company in the business district, try to escape through the rooftop steps. They had calculated that the cops wouldn't arrive at all. They keep walking around the rooftop to get to the stairs that will lead them downstairs. One of the friends notices the cops are present. They consider running. The cops might not catch them if they are fast enough. They arrive on a floor a few feet above the ground. two of the guys jump to the ground and begin to run for their lives. The friend who is unable to jump watches the cops chase his friends. He jumps down a while later and runs in the opposite direction of the cops chasing his friends. After trying to look suspicious and taking off his shirt, he escapes. In a daring escape on the highway, a suspect managed to break free from police custody, sprinting as fast as he could amidst speeding vehicles. Despite the efforts of the pursuing police officer, the agile suspect skillfully avoided capture, maintaining a rapid pace that outpaced their attempts to catch up. A suspect escapes a courthouse, scaring everyone and the cops. The cops stand outside the courthouse, waiting or just keeping guard. To their surprise, a suspect runs out the back door and makes a run for freedom. Shocked into alert, they give chase. The suspect runs, frightening everyone else to run, making it hard for the cops to chase him. He evades the cops and gets to the wall around the courthouse. He tries jumping over the wall for his freedom. A court sentencing in Rochester Hills turned into a chase when a man from Pontiac was sentenced to 90 days in jail. The deputy was nowhere to be found, and seizing the opportunity, the man made a run for it.
Time of opportunity. A Pontiac man gets sentenced and notices for just a moment there isn't anyone there to take him to jail.
As the court deputy entered the courtroom, the guy spotted the deputy and quickly walked towards the exit. The defendant sprinted across the street.
There's a judge, a defendant, his attorney, but someone's missing. The court deputy. And this defendant was just sentenced to 90 days in jail.
As the deputy walked in the courtroom, the guy spotted the deputy, and it was off to the races.
Outside the courthouse, watch the right.
Although reports are that officers managed to apprehend him in a wooded area, the sheriff emphasized the potential dangers of such situations, highlighting concerns for the safety of officers and the need for proper protocols.
With their own weapon if they lose a fight. Those are the kind of concerns that we have. An unarmed person isn't the same thing as not danger.
The suspect escapes a cop's custody on the highway. It's a calm night drive on the highway when the driver sees ahead a man jumping out of a car and running. Seconds later, someone chases. They get closer, and he sees it's a suspect and a cop in a chase on the highway. Straight out of a cartoon, the cop chases the suspect across the road with a gun raised, yet he doesn't shoot. The suspect is too fast for the old cop and eventually loses him. In this video, police officers were stunned as they witnessed a driver disregarding them. They signaled a car to pull over, expecting a routine traffic stop. However, the driver inside had no intention to cooperate, and as an officer approached, requesting the driver to open the car door and step out, things took a turn for the worse. The driver swiftly maneuvered his car in a different direction, defying the officer's instructions. The tension escalated as the police, taken by surprise, struggled to react to the unexpected action. Another police car rammed into the driver's car. However, the driver, determined to avoid the impending confrontation, chose to drive off, leaving the officers too confused to even chase after him. A suspect jumps out of a speeding car to throw cops off his trail. This daring suspect jumps out of a speeding car onto the road. The car is going fast and doesn't stop after the suspect has jumped out. Shrugging off the pain and hidden bruises, the suspect leaps into the nearest bush. He wants to get lost and far away from here before the police car chasing him catches up. The police car speeds past the place where he jumped off into the bush. They chase the car, hoping he will be there. The suspect is miles away in the opposite direction. A criminal slated to appear in a magistrate court managed to escape right in front of a police officer.
In a magistrate court. Escape in front.
He claimed over the fence, leaving the officer both confused and surprised, and before long he was on the other side of the fence, making his escape.
Of a police woman who failed to stop the criminal to escape. These are the people that...
A suspect escapes the courthouse, leaving a cop tumbling down the stairs. The suspect runs from the cops in a courtroom. The police are fast, but he's faster. One of the cops sees him running and joins the other cops to chase him. At the stairs, the suspect glides down, and a cop jumps after him but fails. The cop rolls down the stairs, stalling the other cops from chasing the cop. The fallen cop can't chase the suspect anymore, asking for help from his colleague. Only one cop is left chasing the escaping suspect. In the video, an inmate from the New Albany County Jail in Mississippi was being escorted to the courtroom by officers. The prisoner's hand was cuffed and tied around his wrists.
What's up?
The prisoner yelled at the guards in front of him and angrily headbutted one of them. The officers responded quickly as they fired back, immediately carrying him out of the room. The suspect's car crashes and escapes a police chase. The suspect's car crashes into other cars in the street in a haste to get away from the cops. His mini-truck flips over. The accident ought to have incapacitated him, but within a few seconds, he opens the door of the car and jumps out. He takes off on foot. This is a desperate man willing to do anything not to get caught. The cops arrive at the accident scene, knowing he has escaped, and keep chasing his ghost. In a daring escape, a motorcyclist skillfully maneuvered through traffic, accelerating rapidly to evade law enforcement. The rider initially slowed down, luring one of the officers on patrol to make a move. However, with swift reflexes, the motorcyclist bent his head and accelerated, eluding the officer's attempt to grab him. It looked like he was just toying with them. Suspect jumps from the courthouse balcony to escape cops and sentencing. Courtrooms seem to be a prime place for criminals to run. This guy just heard his sentencing and, unable to bear it, runs out and jumps down the second floor of the courthouse from the balcony. This stuns the cops, lawyer, and everyone watching. The suspect is daring, and if the jump is successful, he can escape before the cops catch up on the second floor. This 21-year-old man named Joseph King in Brooklyn managed to escape police custody while being transported to Central Booking. The incident unfolded as officers were in the process of taking King into custody. But no, one knows how he freed his hands from the handcuffs before taking to his heels and fleeing the scene. Two suspects evade cops and medical checkups. During a medical checkup for two arrested suspects, the cops are negligent watching the men. With the cops' attention elsewhere, both men break into a run. The cops are quick to chase after them. The men run out of the building and burst into the night where they can easily ditch the cops. This is bound to be an unsuccessful chase for the cops. Here, a rather hilarious escape of a prisoner was captured. The video shows police officers looking frantically for a prisoner around a vehicle. Unbeknownst to them, the prisoner they were looking for was lying flat on top of the vehicle without moving an inch or causing the slightest disturbance. The officers looked around the vehicle, with one of them flashing a light and looking beneath the vehicle, yet there was no sign of the prisoner. He stayed motionless in the vehicle, and the ignorant officers eventually drove off. A suspect zips out of a gate as smooth as an eel. The suspect sees the cops are not close by or watching him. He ducks and pushes his leg through the space between the metal bars of the gate. He easily slips out through the gate with his small frame. When the cops come to the scene, they'll be shocked at his absence. The suspect walks away nonchalantly, not scared of being chased. He's confident. As seen in this video, a white police vehicle approached a building and stopped in front of it. Police officers in blue began to come out, followed by a man in a black suit. The prisoner followed the black-suited man out, but just then he bolted to the right, pushing the officer who was blocking his way and running to the side of the building. The law enforcement agents gave him a short chase, but when they realized he was too fast, they pulled out their pistols and started firing. The prisoner ran in a zigzag motion to avoid the bullets, then ran on. One of the police officers followed him in the hope of finding him. Good luck with that. Skilled suspect escapes with roller skates. A cop car is chasing after this suspect. The neighborhood is alive with lights and cheers as they watch the spectacle. The suspect runs with his roller skates shoes, keeping his distance from the police car. He zips by with the cops trudging behind him. This is a night to remember for onlookers. A murder suspect, Dwayne Chain, was in court for his trial. He was allowed to roam freely in the court with a GPS tracker attached to his ankle. The court surveillance camera captured a video of him walking calmly down the hallway. On the other side of the hallway, his girlfriend was also calmly walking about. The video showed Chain and his dad casually walking past the cops, who paid no attention to them. After a while, Chain and his dad casually strutted out of the court like they were taking a stroll. Shortly after, his girlfriend jogged out of the place as well. Once outside, he took off his jacket. A van, driven by his mother, pulled up on the road and 3 of them got in. The vehicle sped off, with Chain throwing out his GPS tracker. He was later recaptured and sentenced. A suspect escapes a cop chase due to a lucky break. The suspect in a red helmet drives by in a street of his with his accomplices. As he gets away, one of the men on the street pushes a trash truck into the way of the cops. They run. The cops lose their quarry and are unable to catch the accomplices. One of the cops chases the running crowd, while the other knows it's a lost cause. CCTV footage captured a rather shocking scene at a police station. Prisoners had been brought out of their cells for a quick trial, with cops guarding the place, but not all the prisoners were calm. Right under the noses of the cops, one prisoner decided to run for his freedom. He made a break for it. When he got to the door, the officers pounced on him but couldn't stop him. He fled the place, with cops chasing behind him. Seeing the success of his co-prisoner, another detainee bolted towards the door. The single cop there could not stop him at all as he made it through. This was the beginning of an epic chase, as one of the cops got on his bike to follow them. The other one was left to guard the remaining prisoners. While all that happened, the other prisoners sat quietly, with no one attempting to escape. Well, the doors had been locked anyway. Motorcyclist steals bike and escapes cop chase. The suspect rides off with the bike, quickly putting a large distance between him and the cop car. He seems to enjoy taunting the cops by slowing down for them to get close enough, then he distances himself. The suspect slows down, gets close to the cop car, and turns back the way he was coming. The suspect keeps taunting the cops and circling the car, taking impossible turns for the car to follow. Thereafter, he is done playing and zips away, leaving the cops behind.